Welcome to It Is What It Is. I'm Sha Marie, and this month is my version of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so today we're going to do Amy's story, and yeah, we're just going to go right into it because I'm on my lunch and I don't have a million hours in the world, and I wish I did. I really, really wish I did. Okay, so Amy reached out to me on the girl group that I talked about in my last episode. And so I'm going to read you her first message and then go through all of her stuff with you. So it says in her message that she is a domestic violence survivor from her ex-husband. I was in a very toxic marriage. I would say about the last 3 years of our marriage. He became very heavily involved with alcohol. He would use it to cope with everything. As his drinking progressed, so did his behavior towards me. He would be sweet and caring and sober, and then he would call me every name in the book drunk. He would take days off, and I wouldn't know where he was. It became emotional abuse. He would say I was cheating on him. Would say that I was nothing but a manipulator, that I had control over every situation. The emotional abuse would put me on edge. I was afraid to come home, find out what I was going to deal with when I got there that evening. After about a year of this, it became physical. He was drunk one night and we were both yelling at one another. When I was walking away from him, he tried to unease the tension. And then he grabbed me and threw me up against the wall and began to choke me. I remember telling him I couldn't breathe and looking into the eyes of someone so dark and cold. When he finally released me, I ran upstairs and locked the door, rocking myself to sleep. Why I didn't call the cops, I'm not sure. He left bruises all over my body. He even asked the next day what they were from. When I coldly told him they were from him, that's all it says. It doesn't say what his response was. The drinking and the fighting got worse. He shoved me into the snow when I tried to take the keys from his car. One November night, he wouldn't get off of me until I gave him his keys. The final straw is when he broke down a door I was hiding behind because I took his keys from him while he was driving, so he couldn't drive. He held me on the floor while he kept twisting my arms to the point I was hospitalized for it. At this point, I knew I couldn't be with this man anymore. I could be dead. I called the cops and never looked back on it. I've been called every name since then by him and his family, but I am alive and he is alive. And hopefully one day he can get the help that he needs. Which is just heartbreaking and sad. And so then I talked to her and I asked her some questions. And what were the red flags? And when you're dealing with an alcoholic, you're dealing with a Jekyll and a Hyde. Not even just an alcoholic, bipolar. I mean, anybody with anything that makes you go from happy as anything in the world, right? And then just mad. And she would cry on her way home. I don't know if anybody's ever been there. I've been there. I've been there. You're crying on your way there home, right? You don't want to go home. You don't know what day is going on inside the house already before you got there. You don't know. And so, in my situation, there's times where I already think that what's at home is angry and aggressive like it normally would be, right? And then I get there and I'm so locked up and closed up already and on the defensive because in my head on the way home, I'm fuck, man, it's going to be a fight. I know this day has not gone right. There's always those little cues in the day. Right off the bat, he's had a bad day. It's going to be a shitty day. And then you get there and Hyde is there, not Jackal, Hyde. But you fuck it up, right? Because you're on edge and you're God, he's going to fight with me. He's going to say something's going to happen. And so you're walking around on eggshells. You're not trying to say anything to make him angry. You're just going with the day. And that is like the shittiest day, I swear to you. It is the shittiest thing ever. It's like, I don't even, having to, and then it's like, well, fuck, is today my fault? Like, it could have been a good day. Obviously, he was in a good mood until I thought he was in a bad mood, and now he's in a bad mood, so now it's all my fault. And it starts that fucking victim blaming thing that I cannot stand. I cannot stand victim blaming, even though I get it, and I've been there, and I've blamed myself a million trillion fucking times. It drives me crazy when that happens, especially when you, quote unquote, put yourself in that train of thought. And then so I asked her about when it got physical. What was it always like? Did it always start out as physical? And she said, I never knew it would get physical. He never gave me any signs that he would be. There were small flags, but I just ignored him. He knew I had been with an ex that was physical right before him. And that makes the whole thing worse, in her opinion and in my opinion. When you know someone you're with has already gone through hell and back, that is not an okay for you to be a fucking dick and to be a douchebag. That is not an okay to abuse that person, to use that person, to be able to be like, oh, what does it feel like to be an asshole and to be a bitch? And I just, when men find out that the person they are with has been physically abused, and then they go and physically abuse you, we don't tell you, no one opens up about their abuse so that their abuse can be used against them. They're opening up and telling you about it so like, hey, maybe you won't be that fucking douchebag, and you see that I need the love, the comfort, the support, the everything that I need, and I don't need to be afraid of you. I don't need you to use your anger and your aggression to control me. And it just, it makes me so mad. She said when the hitting began, it got worse. Her day-to-day was just depression. Her depression was growing. Her hate for herself, dude, she wouldn't get out of bed. She felt like crap all the time, just severe depression. And it's weird how in a relationship, especially with manipulative people, you'll get so depressed and so down on yourself that you stop getting ready. You stop getting dressed up, and you don't just automatically stop. You stop over time, because eventually it's like, oh, why are you wearing that shirt? You think you need to wear that shirt? Oh, you sure are wearing a lot of makeup. Oh, you're wearing a lot of this. Oh, you're doing a lot of this. Do you really need so many lotions? Do you need so many sprays? Why so much makeup? Who are you trying to impress? All these things. And so we just fucking stop. Like, it ain't about anybody. We just try to do it to make ourselves feel better. And so why do it? You know, obviously it's a problem. I'm not going to fight about it. So I'm just going to stop. I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to try to not piss you off is going to be my day-to-day goal. And it makes me so heartbreakingly sad. And then my number one for Amy was, what was it like when she was dating, and how did that all start? And it took her a long time. Her recovery from her marriage was a very long process. She went to counseling. She's a big advocate on her counseling and what that did for her, which is amazing, because a lot of people are not open about their counseling and what it does for them. But she was super, super open and honest about how much counseling it took, but she had to medicate herself. It was hard things. It was hard to get back into the everyday hustle and grind of going to a gas station, getting ready. Thankfully, though, Amy had a friend that had her back and was like, all right, come on, let's go do this. Come on, let's go do that. And eventually, over time, it gets back. But she's dating an amazing guy now, and like a truly amazing guy who knows that she suffers from PTSD from her marriage. And it works with her on her finding out what true, caring, loving, compassionate relationship is. And to find a man like that after someone has dragged you through the dirt is a very special thing. So I really hope that that works out for them. And she was going through a court case this whole time with him. There was a no contact order, and now that's gone. So, I mean, thankfully he's not really fucking with her much now because he's remarried, but I guess the new wife is one of those that thinks she's oh so special and will change him and all that great jazz. And so she harasses Amy. And it's kind of sad. And honestly, I think when women do that, when your abuser gets with the next girl and she starts being hateful towards you, I honestly, truly believe it's because they found out they weren't fucking special. I dated this guy who used to beat the fuck out of me, like, all the time. And when he left me, the girl next was like, oh, well, he'll never do that to me because I'm better. I'm this, I'm that. And I was like, bitch, you think you're special. Go ahead and think you're special. Saw her 2 weeks later with a black guy. Like, you know what I mean? You're not special. You're not going to change that person. And unfortunately, when women find that out, it turns to anger, and it's just not released the best, I don't think, because they found themselves in a shitty situation. And so, of course, it's easier to blame the woman before you because maybe he wasn't like that until she did something to make him that way. And at the end of the day, he's just an alcoholic piece of shit dick. I don't know this person. I don't even know this guy's name. It's just my opinion, and that's just the way it's going to roll. Her story matches my life so much. Not in having an alcoholic and dealing with an alcoholic, but just the mind fuckery that you go through when you're dealing with someone who doesn't remember the day before or acts like the day before didn't happen. And that is a very hard thing, because then you even get it stuck in your head sometimes. You're like, well, shit, was it as bad as I thought it was? Obviously, it turns into like a whole mindfuck thing, man. And like, when it comes down to the mindfuckery of relationships, I really wish at the beginning of the relationship, when the first one or two things happen, that you're like, oh God, man, you just go. Men and women both, we get caught up on, oh, but she's cute and that won't happen again. Oh, he's adorable. He didn't mean it. He didn't mean that I was a fat bitch. He was just kidding. Oh my God. No, those are fucking red flags. You need to leave. You need to go. You need to not drag that situation out and waste precious time of your life. You're never going to fix that person. If you get with a shitty person, you are never going to fix that person ever in a million years. You will never fix a drug addict. You will never fix an alcoholic. You will never fix anyone. You will not. It is not anybody's physical job to change who you are or to change the person you are with. That is not their job. Your job is not to supply someone's happiness or be the sole responsibility for somebody's happiness. That is not who you are. That is not your job. That is not why you were put on this earth. No one was put on this fucking earth to solve everybody else's problems, to make your own happiness. Bottom line, it's not what you were put on this earth to do. And do not waste your time doing it. Look at that person and say, you know what? You might be cute. You might be adorable, but I'm going to dip. Thanks. Thanks for the lesson learned. Thanks for the time spent. Or be their friend. Fuck, you don't have to date them, marry them, or anything. If you get the red flags and you're like, oh, this person seems a little off, you do not have to continue. You do not have to continue the shit. You do not have to put yourself in that situation. Because believe me, when you are years in, it is 10 times harder to pull yourself the fuck out. If I could have opened my eyes within the first couple of months, things would have been so much different in my life, in every situation I've been put in this situation. And so Amy's story was just to know that, like, I'm not the only bitch sorry, I don't mean to call her a bitch, but like, I'm not the only girl who drives home fucking crying because they don't know what's going to be at that place when they get there. It's comforting. It's nice to know that maybe the girl that I'm pulling up to next at the red light who looks like she's been crying, she's on her way home. A little fucking head nod like, girl, power to you. Hopefully it's good when you get there. Is all anybody ever needs, man. I tell you, it's just too much. Hearing these girls' story is literally like the most uplifting blessing. This was probably the best idea I think I've ever come up with. And hearing these women's stories is just so amazing to know that there is a different side. There is a better outcome. Whether you need to do counseling, medication, whatever it is, there's going to be a better side. And that is just absolutely amazing and heartfelt. And I need it. And I need Amy. And I need all these women in my life because they're just amazing. And so I'm going to play you a voicemail. I did her episode. Now the voicemail I'm going to play, her episode was the first domestic violence episode I've ever done. She was on the phone with me during her own interview, and her friend was on the phone with us, and she left me a voicemail last week, and I said I would play it, and she said I could play it, and so I'm going to play it for you guys, and we'll just go from there.
People ask why I do what I do, and here's why.
Hey girl, I'm just calling to say thank you so much for all you're doing on your podcast. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for helping us. My ex just contacted me again today. Showed up. I'm states away. But I appreciate you making women aware of the abuse and that they're not alone. You can still fight. You can still survive. It's hard. The struggle is so real and hard. Just don't give up. Thank you, Jean-Marie. You're the best. I love you.
And I don't know, I go back and forth sometimes on, especially in my situation right now, if being as open and honest about how I feel is the right thing to do. And then I get voicemails like that. I get to talk to amazing people like Amy and Amanda and, I won't say her name because she's next. But I get to hear and talk and just absorb all these people's strength. And I love it. I love every minute of it. I love every second of it. And literally, if anybody needs help, there's this great place that I can help you get in contact with out of Boise. And they are amazing. And literally, you do not need a damn thing. You don't need a damn thing with you. They will help you do everything and anything. Help you get clothes, phone, everything. There is no excuse. There is no reason. They will help you do everything and anything. And if you need that, please call me and I will message me and I will put you into the right hands to be helped, because there is help, and there's a lot of help. There's a lot of help past me, past anything. And everybody should be able to reach out and get that help if they need it. And it's there. Whether it's just getting your story told or actually getting the help you need, just do it. I know that's a lot easier said than done. Believe me, a lot easier said than done. But you're not alone. And you've never been alone. And there are a million of us out there. And we'll make sure our voices are heard. And we will make sure that every man and every woman know we're done. There is no more secrecy. There is no more what happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors shit. That lifestyle is dead and gone. And it needs to stay that way. And it's kind of crazy. I've actually lost a couple followers since doing this. And one of them said, when you get back to true crime, let me know. This is true crime. This is the realest of the realest. This is how half the fucking people I talk about end up fucking dead. This is before your death. I get to talk to you before you let him beat the shit out of you and die. This is true crime. This is where true crime starts. So if these are not your type of thing and this is not your deal, I'm totally cool with you not being a follower and losing you. I'm totally good with it. And honestly, I didn't need you much anyway. If you really just want to hear about people dying, I'm not quite sure I'm the show for you to begin with. So on that note, Amy, thank you so much for sharing your story with me. It was an amazing story. You're a beautiful, amazing person. I wish you nothing but the best. And I really hope I get to meet all these wonderful women one day in person. I really, really do. You guys, I love every one of you. And I hope everybody has an amazing week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me during my lunch. And I love you all. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.